This episode of Come to Therapy with Me is possible thanks to Pediasure, the health shake that helps your fussy eater improve their appetite in 4 weeks. I'll tell you more shortly, but please remember that Pediasure is food for special medical purposes, and use Pediasure only under medical supervision.
Nine podcasts.
Hey, Nicolina here. Oh, that little guy? That's my boy Noah. Yep, that's also him. He may be the light of my life right now, but that didn't stop the postnatal depression. Now I'm pregnant with my second, and to be honest, I need help. So I'm turning to therapy to deal with all the anxiety, the worries and the blues that come along with the most important role of my life, motherhood. Sit with me each week as I try to figure out how I can navigate these rough seas. The information presented in this podcast is for general information only and not suitable for independent professional advice. If this podcast has raised any issues for you and you need information or support, please contact your medical professional or Panda on 1300 726 306.
And, I always look back, you probably hear this all the time, but why didn't anybody warn me of this? Or why didn't anybody warn me that postpartum is so tough or pregnancy can be really brutal or whatever? And now I think I figured it out because everyone's just lying about how they're feeling.
Yes! I've always been a pretty confident person when it comes to anything, really. Who I am, what I stand for, how I do things. But since becoming a mum, I've completely lost this confidence. I'm nervous. I'm scared all the time that my way of thinking, my way of parenting is so wildly different to other mums, so wrong in a way that I barely ever share any of my true thoughts and feelings. So what do I do to avoid any judgment? I lie. I lie about everything. I lie about being okay when I'm not. I lie about how I raise my child at home. I find myself lying about the smallest of things. It's like I've become a pathological mum liar. So what am I meant to do? What will it take to grasp a little more confidence? To stop being afraid of being judged all the time? Just be me, the mum I am, wholeheartedly. This is something I want to tackle with Charisse in this week's session.
With the whole birth experience, I've very much been ignorance is bliss for me.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I wonder what that's about, because it's so different.
Yeah, I think it's because I have faith in, I'm in a medical system, they're going to tell me what I need to do. Whereas if I know everything that could go wrong, everything that could happen or what options I would have to choose, then that would be just running through my head.
I think also, when you don't overplan things like the birth or you accept that I maybe don't have a lot of control in that space, that's where you can open that space for that curiosity.
Yeah.
To just go, well, I wonder, like you just said, I wonder. It's a much more gentle approach, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than, well, it's going to be this way and it has to, a fear or a worry base.
Yeah. Birth is really overwhelming. I find thinking about it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I said to my husband the other day, men will never understand the feeling of knowing that you are about to experience excruciating pain, There's no scenario that you would ever have to even think of that, right? Maybe if you knew you were getting a root canal, but that's not even
it's not even, it's very different.
2% of what we experience,
And you know about it for 9 months. You know that at this point, this is going to be my experience. A baby will be born.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of stuff that's going to be happening to my body.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be quite terrifying, can't it?
Yeah. That's kind of wanted to talk about today is sometimes I feel like as well it's something that we kind of keep to ourselves a bit. It starts from, I feel like it starts from pregnancy for me where, people ask me how are you going and stuff, and I just automatically kind of lie and say, yeah, everything's great.
You go to the good.
Yeah.
You put the mask on.
Everything's not great.
Yeah, so interesting then, pause. Why do you think you do that? Why do you think you go to the good even when it's not good?
I feel like because Like, I've never heard anyone else complain to me as much. I feel like, well, I'm not going to be the one that complains about pregnancy. And two, I think it's a lot of comparing myself to other mums. And I understand it because with Noah's pregnancy, I had a really great pregnancy.
Okay.
And so you could probably even say I was lying then because I thought, I don't want to disclose how good this is. So I would say, oh yeah, I feel a little bit sick, or like, you know, just so that
to balance it
I
out.
balance it out. Whereas this
Yes.
pregnancy has been really hard. And for a long time, I just didn't complain about it. Like, I have pelvic girdle pains, which are really hard to deal with. Started happening from a long time ago. Yeah. It's getting worse. I'm so sick of it that I'm like, this is the worst. But before, I don't want to say that I'm having like a really bad time
Interesting.
being pregnant, you know? Like, I feel like people will be like, well, you wanted to be
But
pregnant.
you chose to be pregnant.
Yeah.
So then in your mind, that equals, so I must not complain.
Yeah.
Everything must be peachy and rosy and fabulous. Tricky though, because that's often not the experience, is it?
No, not
like
at all.
It's very different. What you're putting out to the world is so different from your actual experience. And there's that disconnect.
Feels a bit like lonely sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it feels lonely, I wonder, Nikki, because it doesn't actually give you the opportunity to connect with others in whatever their difficulties might have been,
Yeah.
or others to actually validate and connect back with you and just say, that must be really tough.
Yeah. Part of it is as well because I know that so many women struggle to get pregnant. So anytime I have any complaint or I'm not enjoying myself,
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know, no way. Like, you just have to power through and you're so lucky. I feel like I don't deserve to complain. Like, you know, always have to be positive, always have to like look at the bright side of things.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting.
It is exhausting because it's not real life.
No.
We're constantly kind of acting. And sometimes someone said to me the other day, but my problem hurts too.
Yeah.
And that's where we can give ourselves permission to go, well, I didn't have difficulty falling pregnant and I conceived this pregnancy really easily. And yes, there are many other women who have so much trouble falling pregnant, but my problem hurts too. I am struggling with this, this and this in my pregnancy.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes it's kind of like a lot of judgment from people when...
Yeah.
So it's easier for me to just like lie
To
about
just
it.
lie.
Yeah.
Just lie, because then you don't have to deal with any perceived judgment from others and potentially judgment from yourself, which is saying you don't have permission to complain about this, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So there's that inner voice talking kind of, which fuels that, oh, I just need to pretend and lie, and then there's what we think others are going to think about us if we're telling the truth and something is actually difficult, but we think it's not difficult enough to speak out loud.
Yeah.
Which is interesting then, because we then get to the point of saying, well, what is difficult enough? At what point do we give ourselves permission to speak our actual real experience then?
And that's something I want to ask is like, how do you find like, and we're talking about just, for example, this is just pregnancy.
Yeah.
But when it comes to even mothering and like your child, there's a whole different set of lies I tell, like in that sense. And it ranges from, for example, just even today I felt this. I dropped Noah off at daycare and I get shamed to admit, but like I love dropping him off at daycare. Not just because he has a great time and I like know he loves it there. He gets so much attention, learns things, like you know, his development's great and all that sort of stuff. But yes, like it is because I just get a break.
Absolutely.
And I can work.
Yes.
And it's just like such a great solution that like I can luckily take advantage of. But on the other hand, you know, like I feel so guilty saying that if other mums tell me, I go to the whole, you know, like I hate leaving him for the day. I miss him, and like I obviously I miss him, but not that much on daycare days. But you know, like I just go to that automatic, oh, you've got to sound like a really good mum and like a really attentive mum, and you've got to miss your child, and you shouldn't like be happy that you're dropping him off somewhere else and that you're not seeing him for the day. You should want to have the privilege of being at home with him, and it's just I feel like I'm getting really riled up because it's really frustrating that I can't say that I love it, but you can say that you hate it.
So your whole narrative shifts,
Yeah.
right? You've got this internal narrative or dialogue which says, oh, this is such a relief. I've dropped him off. Great. I have some freedom. I
Yeah.
can go and work. I don't have to be a responsible mummy for the next however many hours. So that's your actual experience. But then when you have to speak it out loud, your whole narrative goes into something completely different because of, I think you just said some of those shoulds. This is what an attentive mother would say.
Yeah.
This is what motherhood and loving motherhood looks like, being with my child all the time.
Yeah.
So we kind of set up these rules within our own mind. For me to be perceived as an attentive, loving, caring mother, then this is the script I need to follow. It's interesting though, because that is not the script, that is your actual experience.
Yeah.
So how do we then, I think it comes back to that give permission. How do we give permission to say, this is my actual experience and I'm okay with that regardless of what anyone else thinks?
I mean, good question, Charisse. How exactly do I give myself the right to be open, honest about every single aspect of motherhood? Because I'm pretty tired of putting it on all the time. The answer to that is coming up next.
All parents want to know their child has a balanced diet, but it can be extra challenging with a fussy eater. That's where Pediasure may help. It's a health shake for fussy eater kids and helps improve appetite in 4 weeks. Your child will love the vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate flavours, and there are more serving ideas in the free recipe book at pediasure.com.au. Remember that Pediasure is food for special medical purposes and use only under medical supervision. Buy in quality pharmacies.
How do we give permission to say, this is my actual experience and I'm okay with that regardless of what anyone else thinks?
Yeah. Make up my own script, you know?
What is Nikki's script?
What is-
Like, what does
yeah.
Nikki think about this?
Yeah.
And I think you know that because you just said it to me.
Deep down inside, I know, but there's just so much external pressure and opinion all the time, no matter what I do. Yeah, there's like always someone that will make you feel like, well, you know, you shouldn't be thinking that or you shouldn't be saying that because you're a mum.
Because this means, and as a mum, you should think this and
Yeah.
do X, Y, and Z.
So then the automatic thing that, for example, I do is I just like lie about it. So I just agree with what the majority will say,
Yeah.
which I don't think is in any way like healthy for me or any other mum.
It's not right, because then I think what happens, we all feed into this mask of motherhood, where then every mum kind of walking around pretending that all is lovely and rosy and we're all kind of conforming to this idea of what a good mum looks like.
Yeah.
And then there's no realness. And again, if we're saying all of that kind of good mum script stuff externally, then we also don't give permission for the other people we're talking to to actually speak their true experience.
Yeah.
So we kind of perpetuate this whole issue that feels pretty rotten.
That's what then leads me to not share. So I have friends that are having their first babies now, and you know, I always look back. You probably hear this all the time, but like, you know, why didn't anybody warn me of this? Or like, why didn't anybody warn me that postpartum is so tough, or pregnancy can be really brutal, or whatever? And now I think I figured it out, because everyone's just lying about how they're feeling.
Yes.
Or just not saying
talking.
it, not talking about it. And that really frustrates me, because I'm like a big talker and I want to be really open and honest about it. And that's what really helps me, I've noticed, is that if I just talk about things, then
The real stuff.
Yeah. I will always no doubt find someone who can relate to that. But when I don't, I feel like, well, I'm the lonesome bad mum here, and there's like not anybody else like me.
No one else
Everybody
is-
else
Yes.
is thinking completely different to you, Nikki.
I mean, it's a delicate balance, really, because we only want to hear so much about what our kind of postpartum or birth, what possibly could be there, and we're actually just not going to hear some of the stuff that we don't want to hear anyway. But my goodness, wouldn't it be nice if we could feel a little bit prepared around just some of the realities of the struggle, of how hard it is to transition into motherhood, of how much you have to give of yourself to care for a newborn when you've never given so much of yourself to anyone before. Absolutely, it would be lovely to share that. However, interesting to hear you say that even with your closest friends, there's still a tendency to not share some of that stuff. And I wonder if that's like trying to protect them a little bit.
I think it's them and me probably, because I would be scared if I said something to someone that they would think, oh God, like, you know, like she's not a good mum, or like, it's just easier sometimes to not say anything or lie than to open myself to the possibility of someone thinking that I'm like a really bad mum.
To being judged.
And I was about to say funny thing. It's not a very funny thing, but something happened recently like this where I spoke about my experience of, in a very humorous way, because in my job I write about parenting, and my little boy started walking recently, which was such an exciting milestone. But he was very close to walking, and so every night my husband and I would practice with him. And one afternoon, my husband practiced and I wasn't there. So he walked, and I was really devastated because I was like,
you missed it.
I missed it, right?
Of course.
And, you know, I was just speaking in the sense of, I just said, if you can see that your child is that close to walking, just keep the practicing to when you're both there, because you can both see it.
You can both witness.
And I got slammed. It came from all different areas, like, so you would hinder his development just for your own selfish reasons. Poor husband, like he's trying to help your child grow, and he's at home looking after your child. You should be grateful. And so it's just the smallest of things that I might say. An avalanche of criticism.
Negativity and criticism is dumped on you.
Yeah. And I was just being honest about how I was slightly upset that I missed the milestone.
I think the tricky thing is people are not afraid to voice what their opinion is, and you're expected to then wear it.
Yeah.
Whereas if we can hold a frame that says, hey, we're all different. This is what Nikki thought. Nikki would have preferred her husband to have waited and just done the practice because she wanted to be there. Great. And this is what person A thinks. That maybe it's, you know, you shouldn't just practice and the children should walk whenever they're ready, whatever. But instead of just holding space to allow everyone to have different opinions without one opinion having to be right or wrong, we get stuck in this society where everyone thinks that their opinion is the correct opinion.
How do I block out those things, you know, because like you can only take so much, and I feel like something will always get through, and then it'll make me like in this, you know, put me in this bit of a spin of like, oh, maybe they're right, and like then you second guess this and that, and that's like really hard. So I find it hard to block
all of it. And I think like it's easy to block stuff when it doesn't hit like our vulnerabilities. But when it hits our vulnerabilities, and for you, Nikki, one of the vulnerabilities we've spoken about is this being a good enough mother, right? Or being perceived as being a good enough mother. So of course, when things come in and they target that vulnerability, we're going to have to work a whole lot harder. We don't go through life and never get hit by things. We're going to get hit by things, and things are going to stick and in different ways. But it's in how we recover from that and how we gather ourselves back up. So in that instance, if we come back to square one, if we can firm up on who I am or who you are, who is Nikki as a mother, what does she stand for? And we look at the good, the bad and the ugly, and we know that we never get it right all the time. And we firm up on, well, this is what I think. Actually, this was okay for me. This was my position, and we can firm up on that. We don't get as hit by those judgments or perceived judgments. They might hit us, but we acknowledge that, whoa, that one hurt. Hang on, what do I think? That's when we circle back around. Well, actually, I think that person has an opinion, but it's not mine. And I'm actually really happy with what I think.
That's true, because, you know, if it was something to do with like my career or, I don't know, my friends or anything, I'm really confident in that sense. But with motherhood, it's like,
shaky ground,
it's really shaky. And I feel like my confidence isn't as strong in that area. It is maybe just like building that up, like to be strong, like a bit of a foundation to say, do you know what? I know what type of mum I am, or I know the good, I know sometimes the bad, I know when I've made a mistake.
Yeah, right. But it's so new as well. If you think about your confidence in a work setting, right? It would have taken months, if not years, to get to the place where you are with your confidence in yourself in a workplace. And I bet that still becomes wobbly at times. And then we kind of look at this motherhood space and we kind of expect, because we're a bit older and we have all this other confidence in ourselves, that of course we will just feel confident in motherhood.
Yeah.
But it's such a different playing ground that we're in. It takes time to build that and to firm up on. And I think you can only firm up on kind of who you are as a mum as you go through and experience yourself as that mum.
Yeah.
The good parts and the not so good parts. So be kind to yourself. There will be moments where we wobble. That's okay, that's expected. But we always check back in, and what do I reckon? And does this fit with who I am as a mum?
And it's been very helpful as well, not having to lie in this room.
Yes!
Yeah, that's just been a real blessing, is being able to come and talk with just zero, judgment, or like the potential of someone shaming or someone walking in here and pointing at me and saying, that's a bad move.
So think about, what do you reckon this space has offered you? Like, it's offered you a safe space, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think a safe space. I think just very much like a chance to, as well. I always, with motherhood, think about like, okay, so this is not working out. This is the not so great feelings.
Yeah.
But I think I've really been reminded that a lot of it is looking on the other side. So this is what I enjoy about it, and this is what I do really well with, as a mum. And these are the great moments and the great feelings. I really lost that in the start with Noah. I just was in the bad.
You were in the black hole.
Whereas I've very much tried in these weeks to try and go back. Something bad's happening. Let's look at what good is happening.
What am I happy with?
So that's been really helpful, because with the bad, I sometimes don't know how to pull out of it.
It's really hard, Nikki, when we can kind of go down this rabbit hole, particularly when our mood starts to drop or we're kind of judging ourselves in a negative way. Then yes, that's the lens that we see everything through.
Yeah.
It might not just be restricted to that motherhood space, but we might have that negative lens that we see work through, or friendships through, or relationship with partners through. And it does, and it spins and spins and spins. And what you've just described is the ability to see when that's happening and at the same time almost press pause a little bit, not make it go away, but pick up an alternate lens, which is kind of saying, your self-talk around that would be, and what else can I see? And how else can I think about things? And that's a gift you give yourself, because that stops us from spinning just in that kind of black negative space. So well done for being able. That's not easy to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, really hard to do.
And daycare allows me to come here. So another plus for daycare. Another great moment for daycare.
Yeah, if only it wasn't so pricey, huh? After this session with Charisse, I feel so much more confident. Confident in myself as a mum and in my own unique way of parenting. I just need to work on keeping that confidence strong. That is the hard part. Thanks for listening in this week, and be sure to come back next week for another session. Come to Therapy with Me is hosted by me, Nicolina. My wonderful therapist is Dr. Charisse. We can connect on Instagram if you like at Hey Nicolina K. It's a 9 Podcasts original production.
Finding a therapist that's right for you can take a little time, but when it comes to ensuring your fussy eater is eating right, Pediasure health shakes may make the whole process easier. Pediasure contains 28 essential vitamins and minerals, including iron and zinc, that help to support a healthy appetite in 4 weeks. You can download a recipe book with ideas for the school lunchbox and also read product info at pediasure.com.au. Pediasure is food for special medical purposes and is available at quality pharmacies. Use only under medical supervision.